Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, it's David here, and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing something different again. I'm just having fun with the channel right now, recording what I want to record, which is content about RPGs in general, and I'm very excited for Nintendo's next console, which we'll call the Nintendo Switch 2 at this point, rumored for next year, 2024. There's rumors for a reveal this year, which I don't necessarily believe, but I think it's totally fair to expect it next year because the Switch's momentum is slowing down, and we're how many years in? We're almost 7 years into the Switch's life, so I think we're about to get a reveal for Nintendo's next system, which means we are going to get announcements, game announcements that will now be confirmed to be coming to Nintendo's next system. So today what I want to do is I want to speculate and have fun, talk about role-playing games, RPGs from different publishers, not just first party but also third party, that have a very strong chance of coming to Nintendo Switch 2. Now I'm not going to talk about, let's say, the next Persona game, because I'm going to focus today on stuff that is already announced. So I'm not going to talk about potential sequels to game that we already know and love, right? I'm going to focus on announced title. Some of the titles that I'll talk about on this list today are already announced for other platforms. We don't know if they are going to release on Nintendo's next platform or not. So those are likely candidates, in my opinion, to be coming to that systems. I'll also talk about games that have no platforms announced for them, but games that are indeed announced, and I have games from various publishers: Nintendo, I have Atlus, Sega, Capcom, and Square Enix. RPGs from all these publishers to talk about. So if you want more RPG content, make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell, and if you like the video, a quick thumbs up is always a huge help. So let's get into it with my first picks, which are going to be from first party Nintendo. Let's start with that. So the first game that I want to talk about is a game that is already announced, and that would be Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Doors. And you're gonna say, oh, it's a boring pick, there's probably gonna be backwards compatibility, we already know it's coming to Switch. Boring. But hear me out for a second. Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you didn't. If you look at the reveal trailer for the game, you can see the button prompts are in a certain color. A color that is not the same as the original Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Doors, because those buttons were colored in the GameCube color palette, the GameCube controller color palette. Now it is colored in a different way, and that is not the color of the button prompts on Nintendo Switch. So people are speculating that there could very well be a native version of that game on Nintendo's next platform. So I do wanted to bring it up here today. I could record 20 minutes of me rambling about backwards compatibility in itself. That's not the goal for today. But I'm thinking there's something here with the button prompts for Thousand Year Doors. I'm believing this rumor for now, and the game is dated for 2024 as of now, so it could very well be a launch title or a launch window title for Nintendo's next platform, in my opinion, if it releases, let's say, September of next year. Another game from first party that I'm extremely excited for, it's a game that we know is in development, but we don't know what it is, and that would be Monolith Soft new IP. We know that they worked on Xenoblade for Nintendo Switch, right? We have Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, we have Xeno 2, Xeno 3, Torna. It's absolutely amazing. Please give us X though, come on. That's the only game that we're missing from the Xenoblade series on Nintendo Switch. I'm very excited to see what Monolith Soft, the developers of Xenoblade, what they are able to do with a new IP. We've seen pictures, you're seeing them on screen right now, concept art for the game, and I think it has a lot of potential. It's going to be medieval RPG, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think there's a lot of potential there because Monolith Soft is a fantastic developer, played all the Xenoblade games on Switch plus Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I love them so much. So I'm really excited to see what they do. Hopefully they change the combat system, which was the barrier for a lot of people. I do like it, and I'm just hoping they change it completely. Let's do something completely different, original characters, original stories and everything, and make it different from Xenoblade. That way it's refreshing. And hey, it's Monolith Soft, so we know we can expect quality. They pump out these releases kind of quickly at Monolith Soft, so I don't think it's unfair to expect it very soon, or at least a reveal very soon. I would not be surprised if this new IP is part of the original reveal of the Switch 2, just like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was for the Switch in 2017. Very excited for that one. Now let's move on to third-party stuff, and I want to talk with obviously my favorite publisher of them all, and that would be Atlus. Atlus has 3 games confirmed for next year. two that I want to talk about today. I'm not going to talk about Vanillaware's next game, Unicorn Overlord, because that is coming to Switch, and I don't think they're going to give the Switch to another version of that game anytime soon. So I'm going to focus on their two other games for that year, starting off with Persona 3 Reload. Obviously, P3 Reload, people wanted it on Nintendo Switch, people still want it on Nintendo Switch, and people also want it on Switch too. Those long-ass Persona games are fun to play portably. That's why all Persona games are playable on portable devices, with Persona 1 and Persona 2 Duology being playable on PSP as well as Vita. You have Persona 3 Portable on PSP as well, and Switch. You have Persona 4 Golden on Switch and PlayStation Vita. So people are looking forward to playing Persona games portably. Now, I know there's the Steam Decks out there, but there's not a lot of those. People want the game on devices that people own, actually. The Steam Deck, not a lot of units out there. It's a PC. I know it's portable. I'm focusing on mainstream devices, so Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. It would be really cool to have a native version of P3 Reload on a Nintendo platform. Atlus decided not to put it on the original Switch, and I'm hoping that it's for Nintendo's next system. Game's coming out February 2nd of next year, so if it comes to Switch 2, it would be a late port, which they do this sometimes, but it's very strange how Atlus decides to pick these games for late ports. They did it with Catherine Full Body on Switch. They did it for Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Sharp FE Encore, although that's with Nintendo. So they're kind of weird with their picks here. 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim got it as well. So I think it's really possible, but it's hard to predict for a game that is not gonna launch day and date on Switch 2 with other platforms, that is for sure. Now, a game that could very well, though, release on Nintendo Switch day and date with other platforms from Atlus is their next big thing, the most exciting project that Atlus is working on, in my opinion, right now, and that would be Metaphor ReFantazio, which is obviously a new IP from Studio Zero at Atlus, medieval style RPG inspired by tabletop games. Very excited for that one. Looks absolutely insane. For now, it's coming out on all platforms and PC but Switch. It's a 2024 game, no date, so it can very well be a late game, especially if you look at Atlus's calendar. February, they have Persona 3. March, they have Unicorn Overlord, so I'm thinking ReFantazio releases later in the year, which means it can very well get a port to the Nintendo Switch 2, or a day-and-date release would be even better. Now, another publisher that I want to talk about, and while we're on the subject, let's keep it Sega. Atlus is owned by Sega, so let's move on to Sega itself. Sega, I am a huge fan of the Like a Dragon / Yakuza series. So now that Yakuza changed from an action-based brawler to a turn-based RPG, I think it's a game that could very well attract a Switch audience, and I'm hoping Sega gives us the Ichiban story on Nintendo Switch. So I'm aware it's going to be hard to port games from Yakuza 0 to Yakuza 6 to the Nintendo Switch with different engines and everything. That would be a lot of work that I'm not sure would pay off that much versus the effort that they would have to do, but I think there's a benefit to giving us the Ichiban games, which means they could port Yakuza Like a Dragon, so Yakuza 7 could very well come to Nintendo Switch very early on. And then if it does well, maybe we could get a port of their next big Yakuza game, which is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Yakuza 8 in other words, which is coming out on all platforms but Switch early next year, January 25th for that one. Very excited for it, looks absolutely insane. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to hopefully playing it on a Nintendo platform. I know some of the devs at the Yakuza team, RGG Studio at Sega, said that the Nintendo audience isn't the audience for the Yakuza games, but there is mature titles on Nintendo, a lot of them, including some of Sega's own title, like Shin Megami Tensei 5, for example, and I think there's an audience for those games on the platform, so hopefully we see them in the future. Now let's briefly talk about Capcom, briefly, because I think this game has a shot of coming out on Switch, and that would be Dragon's Dogma 2. The first Dragon Dogma game was ported from the PS3/360 era to the Switch, and I'm not sure how well it did on that platform, but it's a good port of the game. People praise it all the time. I have yet to play it, but I think Dragon's Dogma 2 is a game that would fit the Switch. Capcom is a publisher that we know likes to support the Switch, unlike other publishers like Atlus, for example. So I think it's fair to expect them to port Dragon's Dogma 2 to the Nintendo Switch 2. I think there's a lot of potential there, and it would be a big game for sure on that platform, in my opinion. Now, a publisher that is huge into the Switch is Square Enix. That being said, there is games in the Square Enix portfolio that are not on Nintendo's current system, and I'm looking right now at Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, the original FF7 Remake is only on PlayStation and PC as of now, so Xbox don't have that game either, which is why I'm carefully speculating on the chances of that game coming out on Nintendo. It's rumored as being tested for the Switch next platform right now. I'm not sure how credible that rumor is though, so take that with a grain of salt. But regardless, rumor or not, I think there is a chance that FF7 Remake is going to be on Nintendo's next platform, and then potentially Rebirth as well in part 3. So looking forward to seeing if they are able to make it work on the next Nintendo platform for Square Enix and FF7 Remake. A team at Square Enix that was amazing on the Nintendo Switch, and then that I'm confident will be amazing on their next system, is Team Asano, the developers of Bravely Default 2, Octopath Traveler 1 and 2, Live Alive, and Triangle Strategy. All banger games, obviously the team behind the HD 2D style as well. Dragon Quest 3 is a game from Team Asano that I think has a strong chance of coming out on Nintendo Switch 2 or Switch 1 if it's not coming out on 2. We don't know when that game's coming out. I'm confident it could very well come out next year or the year after that to the latest. But I'm looking at next year for Dragon Quest 3 Remake or just a new project. Team Asano is very powerful. They're able to pump out these releases very quickly, so I'm thinking there's a strong chance we get a new project from them. Maybe a Chrono Trigger HD 2D remake would be insane on Switch 2. Hopefully they do something along those lines, or just a new game in the HD 2D style would be really cool as well. Now, I briefly mentioned Dragon Quest 3 the HD 2D remake, but what about Dragon Quest 12 The Flames of Fate? Dragon Quest 12 The Flames of Fate is the next mainline installment in the Dragon Quest series, and that game is not confirmed for any platform yet. The reason why I'm bringing it up here today is because Dragon Quest XI's was announced for the Nintendo NX way before the Switch was even confirmed and announced by Nintendo, which means that Square was all in with the Switch right at the start of the launch of the system, and Dragon Quest XI's is a big port. They put a lot of effort into it. It's a huge game. It runs really well on Switch. It's a great port, and it did really well on the Switch as well in terms of sales. I'm sure Square is happy with the results of 11S on Nintendo, and for that reason, I'm thinking they're going to do the exact same thing. Once Dragon Quest 12 gets officially unveiled with gameplay and everything, a new trailer, I'm thinking we're going to have that sweet Nintendo 2 logo next to the other platforms during that reveal. I'm confident about that one. I think it makes a lot of sense. Timing-wise, that game is certainly late. It's not near launch at all in my opinion. I'm thinking it's going to release minimum 2025. We have to get 3 Remake beforehand, and for that reason, I think it has a shot. Those are the games that I wanted to talk about today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick little video. If you did, again, a quick thumbs up helped. Please give a comment and let me know what RPG you would like to see releasing on Nintendo's next system, and if you think the games that I talked about today are likely to come to the system or not, please explain in the comment, and I will gladly read as many as I can. You have a great day, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.